Hey guys.
Hey, good afternoon.
What's going on?
Everyone.
Welcome to another week of Fire Roundtable where we discuss financial intelligence and real estate. This week we will be on our first week or second week of flipping.
Technically first week.
First week of flipping, and guys, let's talk about some current events. What's been going on?
So
What hasn't been going on?
And we always try to keep this, relative to what we do, economics, real estate, that type of thing. So we actually were having a discussion about, the whole situation that happened. Let's flip it, Cordy. Go ahead.
So what's going on, you guys? So we were saying, what's been going on? If George Floyd would have been in an economical position, if he had $300 in his pocket and went to a black-owned store or black-owned bar, you think that he would have, in a black-owned community, you think that he would have had that same outcome? Think he would still be alive to speak today? I was telling the guys, I do think so. I believe that George, if he had his own money and enough financials in his economical confidence, he wouldn't be found in a position to have a fake 20 or a fake check, whatever they said it was. Somehow it always stems down to money. Eric Garner lost his life to selling loose cigarettes. If he had enough money in his pockets, he wouldn't be on the corner selling loosies. So that's basically where it all boils down to money. If we're more financially stable as a community, a lot of this could be avoided.
Yeah. And we say all, well, obviously there's a race issue. We already know that, obviously, because if it was somebody, of unfortunately a different persuasion, then it probably wouldn't have went down like that. But what we do is we want to fight economically. We want to fight with money and wealth. That gives us a voice. That gives us not having to deal with situations like this. Because again, if it was a black-owned store, even if it was a fake 20 you went in there with, or whatever, a fake 100, and it was a black-owned store, then
they would have called the police.
It would have went down the same way, right? It was just like, go on, get out of here, brother. What you doing, that type of thing. He talk to him, talk it out, and this is what we need to do. Even as business owners, we don't just automatically call the police. Let's try to help, And you can't always do that because, some knuckleheads, I don't care what color you are, right. But in this situation, he wasn't really necessarily in that category. But, his money wasn't there, so he had to do what he thought he had to do, right? So if we have the economics in our community, I think it's going to be different versus, we relying on them, people giving us jobs, we relying on, they're creating laws because we have no say because we don't fight it economically, right? A lot of this boils down, like we've been saying, it's just as much of an economics problem as it is a racial problem.
Yeah, true. I agree.
So what else been going on? Have anybody? There was also a good Breakfast Club had an interview with Bob Johnson, the first CEO, first black billionaire of the United States, the founder of BET, and he was saying how economics is what it all boils down to, and how we need to take control, especially minority. We need to take control of our own party. So he said it's good that the Democrat, Republican have their own party, but it's important that we, get together and have our own. If we only knew how important voting was, and how my uncle said this, and it stuck to me. He said, if voting wasn't so important, how can people spend so much money to get your one little vote? And nobody can yet answer that question. If vote was not important, how come you have people like Michael Bloomberg who spent $500 million on his campaign ad for one little vote? So vote. I hope y'all all registered to vote, and we know what we got to do in this next voting election. We got to get somebody up out of there.
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely. But even with that, for me, I always, again, I'm going to keep going back to economics. If we have a firm, stable economic foundation in our community, even with the votes, even with the votes, like I think we talked about, you have another party that looks out more for minorities, right? It doesn't have to just let's fall into the Democrat or Republican party that they tell us we should fall into.
Yeah, right? Bob Johnson was saying create your own.
Create your own.
Exactly. Bob Johnson said we need to have our own party. If you look at, I remember when I went on my cruise last year, we met a lady from South Africa. She said South Africa, when they do their elections, it's 13 parties.
Oh wow.
And that's a real democracy.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying? We don't really. If you only have two parties I can really choose from, I'm pretty much forced into a corner.
That's right.
That's where we are right now. Like, people really don't like both parties out there, both options. But it's like, damn, I'm I'm kind of like doomed if I do this guy, or I'm even more doomed if I, you know what I'm saying? It's
like for example, a lot of people in the last election felt like it's what devil do I choose?
Yeah,
you know
what devil do I choose?
Exactly. So that's the both people.
You know, exactly. So you kind of when you put yourself in that position, you're kind of thinking like, if you had that third, fourth person that like isn't like the third party, you know, the third party always kind of gets like pushed off on, you know, if they had more like I guess like following or just more awareness and whatnot,
yeah, more
that might be
parties.
the thing.
Yeah, just more parties.
We have more options.
Yeah.
It's like if you're going anywhere, if I go to like I just went to somewhere this morning, they only had 5 options on the menu. 5. Or I could go to somewhere like IHOP, Snooze. I got pages.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's how I would prefer my elections to be ran. Like, don't let me go up here and only got a couple of options to choose from. And then whoever you guys put up there is like, this is what you got to work with.
They're certainly set away for a reason.
Yeah, so
they don't want us to have a lot of options, and that's the reality of it.
That's the reality.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say real quick. I mean, because really, the United States of America is. They say it's a melting pot. Why do we mostly? Who do we know that mostly runs outside of one that was not that person, right? So our options are based on one race,
one demographic, one race,
99% of the time.
Correct.
When we have this is the table, we have multiple cultural backgrounds right here. This is the table, right? So why are we always just put in that position? And a lot of people they think, oh, we're just talking about real estate. We don't want to hear about all this. But this is a part of creating wealth. This is a part of getting into real estate.
And why? Because really, how do you the most way that wealth is passed on? This is how minorities lost and took a serious disadvantage of passing on wealth is through real estate. That's typically why we're in the position now financially, because we didn't have grandparents to pass off land to us as, let's say, the white man. You know what I'm saying? Like his ancestors, his grandparents left him land. You know how many people meet?
Like I've run into most people, of course, of white descent, that their relatives owned like 500 plus acres in this one side of Texas, where they actually the main road was named after their family, because it was like, and then like long story short, the grandma started selling it off. That doesn't matter though. But you start thinking about like 500-ish acres in some type where the whole main road of the town was named after her family because it was just left to them.
So when they bought that in 1850,
that's an advantage.
So that's the advantage. When they bought that in 1850, or when they were given,
just imagine the
land.
Exactly.
They didn't purchase a lot of stuff. A lot of shit was given.
A
lot of stuff to these colleges and stuff, given to these universities. Here, take this land. There used to be slave owners' land here. This is now, we're going to put this university. Some universities are about to give free tuition to Africans descendants because they realize that their land was on some slave owners. It was slave owned. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. How America was founded by a white man for people that looked like him. It wasn't for nobody Christopher Columbus discovered it for people that looked like Christopher Columbus. And I think that's why this George Floyd thing is really breaking global grounds, because America's been selling this false dream for 400 years, where people say, damn, like, they got it good of America. Anybody can be who you are. Right. Everybody's equal. Then they had a black president, so they really thought stuff was really died down. And now you just seen an 8-minute 46 murder by a police officer.
I can really chime in on this because I'm gonna tell you just like what it is. And so my parents are Hispanic, right? So they're from I'm Salvadoran, so Salvadoran descent. When you go to El Salvador, you talk to anybody who lives there. They imagine the U.S. being this place with gold roads, gold toilets, and everybody like the land. I mean, yes, it's way better than what it is over there, because in a sense, like at a point you were being persecuted by gangs over there, right? But now you start thinking about it as also thinking about it from their perspective. They don't know any better. They're thinking they got to the point now where they're just like, oh, I have an uncle that lives in the U.S. He could send me $40 and I could be balling for the rest of the week, for the rest of the month type of deal, right? So going back to it, the perception that the U.S. leads off by the media, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's why guys, you got to be careful what you will see on social media and TV in general, because what they get is, oh my gosh, Hollywood, New York City, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. Like boom, and then in reality, like you get yourself out of those areas, you still have poverty, you still have people that probably don't eat as much as some of the kids. I couldn't compare because there's a lot of poverty over there, but you start looking into the perspective of there's people out here that are suffering just as bad. You have 40 people, 20 people living in one apartment complex. I know, not one apartment complex, one apartment, just because they're trying to save on rent, and they're sending all their money back to the foreign countries, and it's like, I don't know. It's just one of those things that to me is just crazy how like the media projects themselves in a certain way. You know what I'm saying?
America is selling a dream.
Selling a dream.
That's just the only way to put it.
They've been doing it for centuries. They've been doing it for.
But before we go there, guys, we gotta be like very, very grateful that we live here.
True.
I'm not gonna not go in there because like you start thinking about we start being like, dang, dude, like we have like good. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like we have like great.
But you've been around. You've traveled.
Yeah.
It is other places greater than the U.S. The U.S. is not the so number one place. The way they make it seem. You can definitely. And I've had this discussion with my parents, and because if America was so great, you have a lot of foreigners who come over here and they'll tell you, when I die, bury me. I want to retire overseas. I just come over here to make the money and go back. The lifestyle of living over here. A lot of foreigners do not appreciate it.
I mean, the system altogether, they don't agree with the system.
Yeah. I work in a bank. You know how hard it is for me to explain credit to foreigners? They say, hold on, why do I need to get into debt to show that I have a good credit score?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The ideology, the fast, it's just backwards.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. We think it's sweet over here and stuff, and it is. But I know everybody. We have all traveled. You know what I'm saying? And I know when I went over, I had the experience to go to New Zealand when I was 17, and that right there. I don't know if you got. New Zealand was one of the first countries to be left under quarantine. They didn't have. When this whole thing hit them, the way that they live their life is in, I think, probably what we used to live in back in like the 1900s. It's more of a quality lifestyle. It's not just go.
Right.
They actually enjoy life. They understand. They don't take things for granted. And I think the U.S. we have kind of, and I think that's why Corona and all this happened. We needed to settle down. We was moving way too fast.
We needed to be grounded.
We're too high up.
We're too high up.
We're on that pedestal.
Our ancestors didn't have the same. Our ancestors who was here in 1700, they didn't have the stuff to think about like we do right now.
Right. Mother Nature grounded us at the end of the day. Because if you think about it, that's what exactly I felt like at a point. I didn't get grounded much as a kid, but I felt like that's what it would have been like to get grounded. Go inside your room, don't come out unless you go get food. You know what I'm saying? Like that's really what it felt like. But another thing I kind of wanted to bring up with the whole BLM situation, guys. I think it's great in the sense that people are standing up for themselves, and just because in the Hispanic community we don't stand up for ourselves, guys. Like it's crazy how, and I don't even like need to tear too much off of that, but just kind of like a lot of people were complaining about like, oh, why does nobody talk about the kids being stuck in cages? Well, what Latino do you go see out there complaining about this ever? No, we don't. Like, and it's unfortunately we've suffered trauma, or our ancestors have suffered trauma to where our parents didn't want to speak up. So I have any Latinos out here, I'm speaking to you. Our parents didn't want to speak up because they were in fear to get deported. They were in fear to get sent back to that horrible lifestyle that they were running away from, right? So guys, if you were born in America, you need to get off your ass and like go out there and make a difference, because you don't have that stigma. You're not gonna get sent back. Like you're not gonna you can fight for your rights at this point. So also every single sacrifice your parents may have done with crossing the desert, being in the trunk of a car, crossing, all the embarrassment that we suffered, because it was from all races. You know what I'm saying? The Hispanic, we suffered from all races. Whether you were Asian, white, black, whatever race you were, they picked on us. So guys, stand up for yourselves. Nobody messes with the Indian community because they stand up for themselves. Nobody messes with the Asian community because they stand up for themselves. Nobody messes with the whites because they stand up for themselves and they have the financials to back them. So if you guys have the financials to back you, then why are we here? FIRE, if you really look at the definition, right? What's the main purpose? For we can educate people in financial literacy, for we can let people understand that you have to prepare yourself now to put yourself in a better situation for your kids in the future. Because at the end of the day, our parents have tremendously sacrificed time and time again just to get us here. And honestly, if you don't go out there and step up for potentially that may have been your mom or dad locked up in a cage, if that would have happened back in the day, then you need to start standing up for the people now. Because honestly, it's ridiculous that I've noticed a lot more black people have actually been making awareness about the whole kids locked up in cages than any Latino, and I think it's an embarrassment.
So here's one thing, like I like what you said, and I heard somebody say we have the luxury to, and like you said, this generation, no matter if you're black, Hispanic, Indian, if you're in the 2020 era, you have the luxury to speak up, because other generations didn't have this luxury. Somebody had to literally die for us to speak up. on this type of platform, on these issues openly. Because, like you said, somebody parent was in the trunk of a car. Somebody parent, if you're black, may have gotten bit by dogs in the civil rights era. So you see what I'm saying? So just to go vote. So little stuff like that. It is always we have the luxury, therefore we need to stand up. You have to stand up because somebody literally may have died for you to have that right or have this luxury of doing this. And we also have the luxury to now change the narrative.
That's right.
See, now with this smartphone, with this media, now we have at one point you only had a couple of outlets, NBC, your Washington Post, your New York Times. You only had a couple of outlets for news to be spread. But now with social media, the narrative can be now switched.
Right.
Because you had a lot of times that like you said, if African Americans, blacks, we have always been saying the same thing. We have always said police been treating us unjustly. You didn't even have the jail systems until 2 years after slavery ended. So you didn't even have the quote unquote policeman until 2 years after slavery ended. Yeah. That's a fact. So now it's to say, so we've been always saying the police ain't never been for black people. But the narrative now that as people we have social media, we can now show a different narrative. Because at one point, the narrative was always those animals, those thugs. So then which had you Americans saying, well, what did he do to deserve that? Did he do it? But now, social media has presented this in front of him. He didn't do nothing. Right. From the moment that they was called to the moment he took his last breath, all in between, you showed that he was not a threat of no. So therefore, the narrative now has shifted. And I think that is what's now causing the big change. You know what I'm saying? And money isn't needed because money is the root of all evil. But however, money is the number one tool that you need in your toolbox for any type of change.
To buy back time.
Leverage.
I'm gonna have to correct that money is the root of all evil. What you do with the money is the root
there you
of all
go.
evil. Not the money itself.
The greed for money is
all evil. Because money, I tell money,
it's
everything. It's a tool.
It's a tool.
It is a essential tool. If not the couple of the like your mental, then money, then is one of the main tools you need for any type of change, whether good or bad.
And
you know what I'm saying? Whether good or bad.
I want to put this into this perspective. So if money is a tool, right? So think about it like this. Money, the CEO of any company, they use it as a tool to hire somebody, whether it be you or if you work for somebody else or whoever you work for, they hire you to go, that way they don't have to do the job, so they can they're basically buying back their time. So that's what everybody else needs to be doing. They need to be using their money, leverage their money to help people out, and at the same, besides help people out, buy back their time, right? Because them 8 hours that you work a day or 12 hours or 40 hours a week, whatever it is, that's 40 hours and you could be living your life however you want to set yourself up for the rest of your life. You know what I'm saying? Whether it takes you 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, it can happen. But guys, like going back to it, you utilize money as a tool to buy back your time because you're gonna die one day, right? We're all gonna die one day, and when we die, are we gonna sit there and be like, dang it, like I worked for my whole life or I enjoyed my life? And some people love to work because I have relatives that like, I have an uncle that when he got the cancer, he was buried in his work uniform. He loved to work. You know what I'm saying? It was his thing, but that's what was embedded to him as a child. But guys, going back to it, we're not in that generation anymore. We're not there anymore. We're able to propel ourselves out. So hey guys, like I said, use that money to buy back your time.
And one of the
I was gonna say one thing he had talked about, and I think everybody was talking about here at the table. So they teach us, or they basically indoctrinate us the American dream, right? And unfortunately, so the American dream is real. The opportunity here to create an economic foundation for yourself or your family, whether you're from another country or from this country, the opportunity is here. But so what they do to you on the flip side is to say, yeah, you have the opportunity, but we're going to put you in a position where you can't take advantage of that opportunity.
Right.
That's why we're here, right? Put you in a position, go to school, get a good job, right? Those are positions that you're never going to take advantage of the American dream, the freedom financially. You're never, because the game that they're setting you up in, even though they're teaching us, American dream, come here, we're lining the streets of gold, you can do whatever you want. It's just true. But you have to have the right understanding, the right education to take advantage of that.
So explain that. What do you mean? Explain.
It's a system. So I can. You want me to rip it?
So
the system that they want us to go in is not to be able to get from underneath them.
That's right.
they don't want us to be independent. They want us to always be under them. So college is to work for somebody else.
Every professor would tell you that. And I never had a professor tell me.
Entrepreneurship.
No.
How many classes? Not too many classes on entrepreneurship. College is not for entrepreneurship. Put it that way.
There's not colleges that have
Well,
entrepreneurship majors.
no, I'm saying college is not. I'm saying like they don't set you up in college for entrepreneurship.
Can I say something though? Any real entrepreneur, they have all left that college. Now, I don't know that one, from Bill Gates to Kanye West, Mark Zuckerberg, anybody who went to college, entrepreneurs realize that, oh no, this college thing is a game.
Yeah.
It is, and man.
It's a game.
It is, like, honestly, guys, it's that you go to school until you're 18, they give you that 9-to-5 mentality. You go to college, they kind of give you the same mentality. You get out, and me, I graduated college, Corny graduated college, so I'm just speaking to you.
I dropped out.
I got, and he's the one flipping that. But guys, going back to it all, like it is a system set up to kind of just keep us working for somebody else, whether it be, like you said, all the big guys actually left college to go start like their own big.
They realize they don't need it. Ain't no real entrepreneur would take a class to learn how to.
I remember what I wanted to say. So I had a professor in college, right? Well, I'm gonna say the story, right? So I had a professor in college. He retired. He graduated from my college. He went to my college. So he went to my college, graduated, was an assistant professor, and then became a professor once he got his doctorate. Worked in the college his whole life. He taught business ethics, right? So this was my thing. He never ever worked in any job that wasn't this university because he retired from it. I was like, my semester was the last semester of college, so. He taught business ethics, but he never worked, besides the school, he never worked in the actual business corporate American environment, right? So I'm like, how are you teaching me how to be a business ethics?
Right there.
This man was 60-something, don't get me wrong, he knew his stuff. He knew, like the textbook stuff that they laid out for you made sense, cool. But did he know how to apply it? No, because you could tell he was probably the guy that would probably sit in the back of the class, very quiet, just doing his work type deal, just even no matter how his age was though. But I'm like, I used to kind of sit there and be like, I'm learning from this man that's never even worked.
And that's pretty much every college.
I couldn't wait till you bring out to say, man, I had several professors like that
every time
who would teach you, and it kind of
never did.
Just like Ross went to the Robert Kiyosaki class, and he'll tell you he was in that class with people who never touched a nail, who never put the house in the den, and you're here wasting time. So I had a professor who said they're not teaching people like Trump. He didn't go to school. They taught him early in the game how the real system is.
Teach your shoulder yourself.
Yeah, they taught him the real. You go to school because you gotta have that on your paper.
That's right.
But at the end of the day, you got real estate is where it's at.
Yeah.
His father taught him there ain't but so much land in the world.
That's right.
You buy this land, you rent it out, you will forever be wealthy. And Trump has been doing that, and now that's why he's in position to buy a presidency.
And do whatever he wants.
He got a voice, right?
He bought a presidency because his father taught him. Everybody know he didn't go to no college.
Right.
I don't care what degree he pulls up out of. Everybody know based on how he talks that he didn't go to no type of school.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So it's you don't have to be. And that's why I don't know if y'all saw the Michelle Obama's Becoming thing, but she said she done went to all. She's been to the highest of universities. Sat down with the highest of people, and when she realized that a lot of them don't know nothing.
They don't know nothing.
A lot of things you call it's affirmative action.
Right.
And she said, usually when people hear affirmative action, you hear when minorities, but no, if your grandfather, your legacy child, that's affirmative action. That's how Bush got into Harvard.
Yeah.
His grandfather went, therefore he's a legacy child. The boy don't know nothing.
And
graduated from Harvard.
It limits you because, like, how can I go to Harvard because my grandpa didn't go there? You know what I'm saying? Like,
so that's how the system is set up for you to keep going up. So now your grandfather went to Harvard, so now all his kids get to automatically get to Harvard.
So, and before we get into changing the topic, definitely. Give you a little history on school system and your own research. Don't take it from me. Our educational system is based on the Prussian educational system. Look it up yourself. Look at why our education system was set up. And I'm just going to tell you in brief, but you can look it up yourself. It's set up to train good workers. That's why our education system is set up. Most people don't know that. Most people, even though I'm saying that right now, you're not going to believe it. And this is why we're going to be stuck in the same situation over and over again. We can riot, we can tear up crap, we can do the same thing. Like Killer Mike said, you tore it up, right? Now let's sit down, organize, and figure out where we go from here. Stop just tearing up stuff and going back to the same thing. As long as you have fear that somebody's not going to pay your check, I don't care how bold and strong you think you are, you're going to cow down eventually.
Every time.
Because you know you can't eat without them.
And that's how they do it every time. That's why every time a successful person come out here and he wants to, why you think Kevin Hart's and Steve Harvey? Steve Harvey, I have been a biggest Steve Harvey fan, and I am disappointed because Steve Harvey is always afraid of the financials, of his brand.
Yeah.
Yet, if you had your own, you could be able to speak up and don't. Who cares who's paying you because you have built money around you to your money's going to be paying you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like the Jay-Z's, like I said, they done messed up. So Jay-Z's and your Bob Johnson. Once you black billionaire at the table, his money is mixed down with the white man's money.
Absolutely.
Best believe Jay-Z money is mixed with the whites, the Jews, all the. You know what I'm saying? There's no way you can get to that $1 billion table and not have your money mixed in.
And they're not wrong. That's what we want to be. Don't say that's what they were trying to separate. That's what we want to be.
But now but when you get up there, now you have to. That's why Jay-Z speaks and he does things. And he can speak whatever he wants and is okay with whatever decision because he know financially, him or his kids won't skip a meal. They want to eat the same today as they will 5 years from now because he's positioned at the table. And that's how we have to position ourselves. We have to position ourselves where we're not afraid if someone pulls a check from us because we have financially stable till we have multiple streams of income. Whereas once check fill, I'm like an octopus. You know what I'm saying? I can still stand if you take one of my legs. I'm still stable. And that's how, until we're in as a community in that position, we will always tear down stuff and go right back to the same hood that we tore down.
I love the word that Corny just used, community, guys, because you got to think about it. How do these guys all get like wealthy, whether you be black, whatever race you are? What do? They all team up into they put money into a pot, right? And then they go buy an apartment complex, or they go buy a storage unit, or they go buy X, Y, Z.
Never
whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? And that's how it's done.
That's how it's done.
And once again, I'm gonna go at my Latinos. You guys are too selfish for the most part to collab and make money together because any Latino that I know for the most part, they're in there for themselves and they don't want to break bread with nobody else because they're greedy. I'm sorry.
But look, that is I remember hearing a pastor say this. That's more of the world where we have what they call it the selfie generation. We're in the selfie era, meaning it's all about me. The pastor said we don't even sing songs in church no more about we. All the songs in church now is about me.
But it's been on that platform.
That's what he said. That's been from the 60s. He said from the 50s on down. He said because when his grandmother, it was all about the community. How can we build each other up as a community as we come to, and then like around the 50s, he said that's when a lot of stuff started transitioning. Everybody had the females started their own. Everybody broke it off. And they wanted their own individual. The gays ended up wanting their own. The black female ended up wanting their own. Compared to just the black community, like the black female wants their own. This is the black male. And then you have the black gays. They're all in the same one community.
That's right. Now look at us now. Now look at where we are.
Well,
you got so many independent lanes that everybody has a freedom of opinion. Mm-hmm. You know, it's another letter added to the LGBT. And I'm not saying nothing wrong with it, but it's just so many. When is it ever going to stop?
So let's see this. I don't care what religion you believe in or what you practice. All these things we're talking about, what are they? What is it? The fear of poverty comes from the devil. Fear. The fear. God made us all right to come together and live together, right? So that's right. Distracting you to separate, thinking I'm this, I'm that, I need to be separate. That's devil, right? So what else were we talking about? The racism, devil. All these things come from the devil, but we play into them all day, every day.
And like you said, no matter what religion.
No matter what religion you are.
And all religions have the same fundamental concept.
Absolutely.
The same fundamental.
Yeah, honestly, you go back into religion, if they all have the fundamental concept, but they all got separated, just like we
devil.
So, let's be realistic here. Let's stop separating ourselves. If it's all the same stuff, I'm not gonna lie to you. That's what gets on my nerves about, I don't even know if I say this, but this is what gets on my nerves. That everybody tries to separate themselves from everybody else. Like, dude, stop. Stop. I get it. Sometimes you may need to take a step back to put yourself in a position to then launch everybody forward. I get it, But don't put yourself in a position to where, you completely pull away just because you want, you can't do that, guys, because and then different religions start happening. Just like religion. I'm using religion, right? Different religions kind of came down to be, and then everybody segregated. And then, now we have wars, between people and religion. People can't get along because, we got to stop separating ourselves within groups, whether you're white, black, brown,
make it more macro.
Stop. Like, yeah, you gotta
more micro. We're tuning this stuff at a micro level. We should really be looking at a macro level. Like, why looking at it such detail? Like, everything you look at it. Like when we was looking at this, when I was having discussions about this race thing, I said, everybody. But what about the looting? What about that? Is a micro. The overall macro scheme of things is injustice from all people. Right. You're gonna, when anything big happens, you're gonna have what they call collateral damage. Yeah. You're gonna have some stuff happen that's collateral damage. If a big volcano eruption, it's gonna have some stuff on the outskirts that's gonna have affected. That's collateral damage, but something major had to happen, and we have to look at it from a macro. And anybody, once we start looking at the micro, I think that's when people. I think maybe even in the olden days, when all religion was probably just one or two religions, and then they had a micro. Even in Christianity, you have 7 religions in the Christianity alone. But if you all believe in, you know what I'm saying? You have the Presbyterian, Christians, Catholics, Baptists, Methodists. How is this all under Christianity?
It's the plan, man.
It's the plan.
And you can't bring us together and then fight us at the same time.
That's
you can't win.
If we all come together,
you cannot win. Nobody can win. They can't win against us. So religion, race, whatever. If we come together, you cannot win. Economics, you can't win. Strength, you can't win anything. So they're gonna keep dividing you because they know that's the only chance they have to keep. And again, come back to the devil. That's the only chance they know they're gonna stay in power by dividing us.
And we gotta stop living in I know we got a class to go into, but we gotta stop living in a scarce mindset and start living like in a mindset of, I know something, we talk about that abundance where there's enough to go around, guys. Because like, think about it, like if you are what you say, like, all right, I need my 4 apples because I need to make sure I'm gonna eat for the rest of. I need my 4 apples, but like, and you're not gonna go give them away, so you go hide under your bed or wherever in your own little spot. But if you have 4 apples to where you're like, all right, well I got 4 apples, there's 2 of us, all right, let me give you 1, and then maybe I'll give you a second one, and then
if I plant some seeds,
exactly. If you plant some seeds, then in 2, 4, 5 months, and then, hey, bro, remember, like, I got the apple. So look, let's take care of this apple tree together, and let's water it. And if I forget, then you do my nights, I do evenings, or whatever, however you want to figure it out. You take care of it, and in 2 or 3 years, you have this big old tree that's feeding you apples. You don't no longer have 4. You have a whole apple tree of abundance that you can just grow. But what do you have to do? You have to plant it, share it, and be patient. And then grow it, and then exactly, eventually, you'll see the apples.
That's how the world used to be. In Africa, that's how, they said Africans was never really confrontational. If somebody came and invaded a town in Africa, they usually just migrate somewhere else because Africans used to think that it's an abundance of land. There's enough resources out here. I don't need everything. There's enough resources out here for everybody to eat. And that's how God created this. It's enough everything that we have and use come from the ground. Literally, from paper to clothes, everything. Cotton, you gotta plant all these type of seeds. So there's abundance, but once we start getting into that scarcity mindset, that this, and I never. Anytime you say Burger King, you want to say McDonald's. They come together, and once we as a community get on that thinking pattern, that's when we'll see some major change. And I think that's why changing that we're seeing right now in the world is because you got a lot of poor people. See, now we're all on one accord. Whites and blacks. You got 40 million unemployed.
Right.
40 million unemployed. That's not just a race thing. We all broke. Right. we got a lot of broke people. So now that class, they're gonna want to see some change. And now we have all come together. We realize it ain't about your religion, it ain't about you from the Midwest, it ain't about you white or black. We want to see some change, and we want to see something. And that's why we're at where we're now, because they said this happened in the medieval times when that middle class was going to evaporate. The king was going to eventually get overthrown.
Yeah.
Because you don't have no middle class. You just got a bunch of broke people, peasants at the bottom, and you have a king or 2 at the top. Right. But they're going to overthrow that eventually.
Right. So when that transition happens, you need to put yourself on the top, right?
Go.
So, and we're gonna, even though we talk about this flipping class and all that, so one thing I wanted to interject here, and we may get to the training, and we may do it next week. What we're talking about right here is wealth mindset. So people, I came to learn real estate. If you don't understand what we're talking about, I don't care how good you are in real estate, you'll never make it. There's so many businesses that come into business, they go out of business. They don't understand a wealth mindset. They don't understand mindset of entrepreneurship. This is what we're talking about, even though it has a lot to do with race and class and that. That's how you change the situation of your family, of your community. So I can talk all day about real estate, how to flip a house, and you may flip a couple. You may do all right. You may make, some better money than you made before, and that's good. Nothing wrong with that. But we're talking about changing wealth for generations, and this is why what we're talking about is important right now. So whether we get to the details of it, we'll be here every week, so we may get to the details next week. But we want you to understand, and that's actually on the first part of this class, is to change your mindset. Read a book. Stop indoctrinating yourself or letting them indoctrinate you and say, if I go to college, I'm going to be successful. Mm-hmm. If I play into their system, it's not created for you. Their system is not created for anybody at this table, Indian. Their system is not created for you. You have to find what system works for us and take advantage of that system, which is a part of the American dream, because you can take advantage of that American dream, but you got to stop playing with their system, because their system ain't created for you to create wealth.
But it got loopholes in it. Here's the thing. If you know America like we do, Uncle Sam got loopholes in there.
So like set up for everybody.
It's set up for everybody. So when Christopher Columbus came over here, even though he built it for people that look like him, he messed up when he said land of the free for all.
That's right.
That's when they put that in that First Amendment. That's the loophole for us. So now it's harder for us. Yeah, minorities have so many more obstacles. But therefore, you got your Jay-Z's, you got your Steve Harvey, you got people who are touching $1 billion now, who grandkids will never work, and that's how we're trying to get into that level. So therefore, if somebody can do it here, America is definitely the place to do it.
Absolutely, that's why
anybody, it is.
We can do it here. Other countries you can't.
But the only way you got to do it, you got to be educated. Because this land in 1492 is when they came over here. They had sophisticatedly built this monopoly game for them. Now you have to continuously read all the fine print of this damn game to find out, that's how they really begin.
How do I play it?
Damn, I'm thinking the whole time, I'm thinking the CEOs of these companies are sending their kids to college, but no, this whole time they're telling them, this is how I'm going to put you in position. Don't worry, you're going to run a company like that. Don't worry, here's your land. They're teaching them a whole different model of the game than what they're teaching us. Because like you said, nobody made money going to college. And it is showing us to today how every billionaire, every successful person dropped out.
That's right.
Every successful person typically dropped out of college.
To make it simple for you, what he's talking about, we're playing football with a basketball.
Damn! Woo!
That's what we're doing.
Playing around.
Football with a basketball.
You don't give the right equipment.
Basketball, man.
You don't give the right
equipment.
Once your ass realize this ain't the damn, you like, it took me a long time to realize this ain't even the right ball.
I love what you said, but I want to put it like this: you're playing football with the soccer ball because it's the whole wrong system. You're using you're supposed to be using your feet. It's the whole wrong thing.
It's simply because they look the same way football, but they two different things.
Or even if it's a basketball and a soccer ball, they're still around. You know what I'm saying? But one is used for your foot and one is used for your hands. You know what I'm saying?
No, I like it. Like you said, in America, football. It means something totally different than the rest of the world.
Right.
And that's how we really are. America, it looks like it's the same like us. It sounds, American land, it sounds like it's football. But when you come over here,
it ain't football.
You like, hold on. You're
it's a different type of football.
Y'all supposed to be using your hands. We're supposed to be using your feet.
Right.
Oh, no, not in America. We took that name football, but we changed it. So how the hell the rest of the world know football and soccer? And only in the United States. We call soccer.
But the United States was basically a country where they wanted to make everything there.
But why?
You know what I'm saying?
It goes back to the Bible. It goes back to why? The rest of the world say the day first, then the month. We say the month, then first. We work
inches to compare to kilometers, miles and kilometers, all that stuff. We're on a whole different metric system.
No, but the United States is the only one. Wow.
And then, bro, going into pounds, why is LBS a pound? You know what I'm saying? Like that right there to me, and I know that's way out of. But going back because they couldn't find nothing for what the pound was. You know what I'm saying? But
why don't they try so hard to make us different? Because that's what you just said. And it goes back to if I'm creating this game, and I see that if I'm modeling a game that's over there overseas that looks just like the game I'm trying to create, but I want to put loopholes in it. And I want it to look like it, but it's going to be different things. And it's like that for a reason. Just like you go to Europe, all the switches are different.
Yeah.
In Europe, the plugs are different. It looks the same, but it's like that. But then once you start traveling, and then you say, hold up, the world is more alike than the U.S. Like when you look at the world, it's more brown people than they are whites. But the game is to make you think that
There's more.
It's more us. So that now I got you. You thinking that damn, it's really more white people. They are in control. But on paper,
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
on paper, there is more brown people than there are pure whites. But if you was to think, the game is to make you think it's more of me. So the game is to make you think it looks the same, but over here it's all the way different over here. And I like that analogy that it looks like football, but this is a whole. We playing a whole different sport.
Yeah, you don't have the tools, you don't have the knowledge.
But like you said earlier, once you educate yourself, then the glasses that you put on every morning is going to have a whole different lens as you become more knowledgeable.
Yeah.
Everything that you look at is going to be solely different. It's going to have a different, because now when I look at a house, I look at it totally different than I did 5 years ago. I can look at a house now and I analyze a house totally different than I did 5 years ago. And that's why I had to feed myself with knowledge.
And you know what's crazy? I went to we got an Airbnb the other day, and I walked to the house, and all I could do was, "This is a horrible job."
Analyze it,
right?
You know what I'm saying? And like, it's because I know it now, but like a lot of people, they're probably looking like, "God damn, like why are you always like criticizing?" No, I'm not criticizing. It's just
but you know better than to do better.
It's not work. You know what I'm saying? Like I know exactly what it is. So
knowledge is power. That's why when anybody comes to me of a different race and say, "How can I help out?" I say, "Not read," because when you know better, it would just something that you're gonna automatically do better. It's like the root. Once I started here, naturally everything around me is going to change. That's just a natural thing. So the more and the thing about where we are in the world, because America has been selling this fake dream and history books have been hiding the true history. We've been doing this in America, sweeping stuff under the rug. Now guess what? Eventually that going. Now everybody look like, yo, what's that? I got this big pile over here. Oh, that's for all the stuff we've been sweeping under the rugs for 400 years. Thinking y'all stuff. And now it's just like karma. You can't build a house off a bound foundation. Right. So America wasn't going to be, it was destined to come down at one point because the foundation. Now, I'm not saying that America can't do right. All we got to do is right our wrong. Right or wrong. And everybody build the foundation. You got to rebuild it, break it down, and build it right back up. There's not one religion, not one fraternity, not one gang that doesn't teach you that. That's from the Bloods to the Qs to the Muslims, they all tell you, I have to bring you down, and then I'm going to build you up until I want you to be.
That's right. And so, with that being said, don't wait on them to do it.
Don't wait.
You'll wait forever. You'll be waiting forever. You have to go and do it. Then you teach your kids, you teach your brother, you teach your sister, you get with a group of friends, you teach them. So that's the problem with, and I'm not big on politics, but if we put this person in office, they're gonna look out for our best interest. It ain't gonna never happen. No. They never ain't looking for your best interest. Look for your own best interest. Educate yourself, because they ain't gonna educate you. We can talk all day about the school system. They still gonna put you in that same position because the people that are running it, and it ain't the politicians, the people that are running it want you to stay in that situation because it helps them. It makes them better. They don't want to see you come together. They don't want to see you educate yourself in a true education that you can make yourself better, your family better, your community better.
All right. Why do you think you can't go to a bank and ask them about credit? No bank in the United States will teach you about credit, but they can give it to you in a heartbeat. Just that type of understanding. Yeah. I got people say, I legally cannot talk to you about credit. However, I can legally give you $50,000.
But I can't tell you about it.
But I can't tell you about it. I cannot.
That's the biggest.
You can't tell me the stipulations that come with it, but
it goes back to the knowledge.
Right.
If I taught you something, why do you think it was illegal for blacks to learn? Because if your ass was to learn, now you would get out of the situation you're in. So therefore, I have to. Knowledge is power. We would not be sitting here if Ross didn't give me a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. So none of us would be here if it wasn't for one
simple action.
One education.
It was just an action. Like, hey, look here.
Boom. Education, you gotta have to. They used to always say it sounds so cliche and corny, but knowledge is power. Like it really is power. Like
everything boils down to like he said, sweeping under the rug. So every minority has had so many major contributions that made this country what it is, but they're gonna keep sweeping under the rug. Until you educate yourself, until you educate your children, you're always gonna feel inferior because you don't understand. This country, the way it's set up now, is because of what minorities contributed to.
Yes.
Minorities built this country. Don't let nobody. Not the majority.
And you're talking about, they were farmers. They invented the cotton. No, we're talking about from all this stuff that led up to the technology that we have now. They talk about, what's his name created the electricity light bulb. No.
Oh, no. Thomas Edison?
Tesla? No.
Thomas Edison? No, they say he was the biggest, they say he stole more patents than anybody.
The watch. So it's so many things that we don't know about ourselves. It's it's the reason why they keep, again, putting us in a position where we have to fear, like, oh, we ain't gonna be able to pay our bills if this is
if we talk up.
Exactly.
I can't say, people say, I can't quote something on social media because I'm afraid, you know what I'm saying, oh, I might lose my job. That's okay, but you want to get out that mindset. Now, every day you have to think about how can I get out of that mindset where I can live my true self comfortably. And that's what we all want to be able to live up and wake up every day and live within our truth. Meaning I can say what I want, how I want it, when I want it, where I want it, and not be afraid of the repercussions. Right. Why? Because I'm educated, I have the financial means, right, to back it up. And that's where money comes in. If I don't have no financial, if I don't have no money to back it up, I could be the smartest one in the room and still be shut down with 2 cents by an idiot like Trump. Because why? Because that idiot got billions. And you could be the smartest one in the room, and you still can't compete with him.
That's right. And you got to have the proper education. When you're talking about smarts, like, you went to, to Harvard and you learned history and all that education is useless. I'm sorry. That's just my stand. It's useless. Yeah. Don't put no money in your pocket. Don't make your community better necessarily, especially the education they teaching you, and then on top of that, if you don't have, what the history of where you come from, you're not going to have the confidence to, like Courtney said, go out and say something. Again, there's so many things that minorities contribute even now today that they're not going to give you credit for. The reason why we're fighting now, people are getting killed in the streets, although it's always been going on, the classes that are controlling things can see that they're losing control.
Right.
What class is that? Obama.
What class is that? That 1%?
That's 1%, and unfortunately, most of that is a Caucasian persuasion, right?
Male persuasion.
A Caucasian male persuasion.
Because don't believe the white female is still considered a minority.
Absolutely.
As crazy as you may think.
Absolutely.
The white female is still considered a minority on paper.
Wow. Absolutely.
Yeah, wow. Absolutely. Like little stuff like that. But like you were saying though, did y'all see what Elon Musk said about Amazon?
The monopoly?
Did you see the one that burned down?
So did we talk about that? You mentioned that. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, that's right. So like Elon Musk basically went out there and he tweeted to Jeff Bezos saying like that it wasn't fair he was creating a monopoly.
And this is Elon Musk, the owner of Tesla.
Yeah, you gotta say Elon Musk. He has a pool. He said the price of Tesla is too high and dropped. He smoked marijuana on the Joe Rogan podcast, and the Tesla stock tanked. This guy has power. This guy has a massive influence. Massive influence.
Massive.
So you start thinking about this man has massive influence, and he's actually trying to recognize things like this. What they were saying all this, just don't feel right, man. Because you start putting one company just in charge of every aspect of your life. Mm-hmm. So now what you eat every day is going to be everything that is going to be surrounded by the company. So they can start putting whatever. They already put growth hormones in our food. You know what I'm saying?
Milk, especially. Stop drinking milk.
What's next?
Please, we should mention that there.
No. Like I'm saying, what's next on that point? You know what I'm saying? Right. What is next that they can start putting into your foods to make you think a certain way? But that to me is sorry, I would want to chime back on something though. But that to me is just crazy, man.
And the thing, I'm gonna let Derek hold that thought for a second. And the thing is, again, we don't know the law. That's actually against the law to monopolize any corporation.
That's why they stopped the on Sprint.
They shut down every person that tried to monopolize, but they ain't saying nothing to Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, Bezos definitely. He brought Walmart. What after he brought Whole Foods? That changed the game.
Yeah,
we should have been like, whoa, why are you buying Whole Foods?
Yeah,
that's
different.
I saw that. I was like,
yeah,
and they get it. But I guess if you want to partner with them, cool. So if you want to partner with them and be like, let's do this together, and then we'll go to your grocery store, and you can make some money, and I'll make some money.
Partnership is different.
Great, good.
When I buy you, now Whole Foods is a pharmaceutical company. They sell drugs.
That's right.
They're a drug store.
That's crazy.
Right. And a food store. Right. So now he has e-commerce, pharmaceuticals, and food. Come on now. Pharmaceuticals and food is. What else do you get? Essentials.
Yeah.
Now we're coming to the world where e-commerce is about to be an essential thing in the world. So now you have all the essentials under one umbrella, and yet nobody has said nothing. And just why? But not just. Well, Warren Buffett has his money into that when Amazon bought Whole Foods. Warren Buffett. So your elites, they have their money in there. So it ain't just all Jeff Bezos. Warren Buffett money was also whatever Warren Buffett does as well as the.
I mean, Jeff Bezos only owns like a certain percentage of that company. I was looking at the breakdown the other day on how much it really is from investors and how much it really is from his, and he only has like a fraction.
Like 51%.
Like, I think it's even less than that, honestly. But I'm lying to you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But yeah, he don't own it all.
He still has a majority though.
Yeah.
I already say majority of a $1 trillion company. Like, hey,
It's not a trillion yet.
So it's almost there, brother.
Again, let's look at all the stuff we've been talking about. So, and there's some other things that have been going on. I ain't gonna get into them. So, what do you think? All the protests, the coronavirus. What we gonna call it? It's a distraction.
Yes, thank you.
Stop getting distracted.
Thank you.
Turn the crap off. Make yourself better. Improve your community. Improve your family. Stop getting. Know it. Okay. We saw it. We understand
But
it.
don't
get away from the distraction.
Don't drench yourself.
Exactly.
Drench yourself.
That's all you hear. Coronavirus and now Black Lives Matter, which is all good. I'm not putting that down. It's not going to necessarily
keep your eye on the prize.
Is that the 6 months from now? When Uncle Sam come back and start knocking back at that door, history. If you the more knowledge you are, history repeats itself.
Right.
If you know history, then you know anything that we have ever been quote unquote given in this country for free. We have looked at it and said, "Damn, that really wasn't a good thing. They really didn't give us nothing." When even after Martin Luther King, what you thought you got,
they gave us freedom.
You really didn't get nothing. And really, when you look at you like, damn, really desegregating us did us worse off by segregating.
Absolutely.
And when you look, but once again, we were so distracted in that time.
Right. Always a distraction.
Always a distraction. And they are thinking 10 years, 20 years ahead of time. Like we said, I don't know if we said it on here, but we said before we started, we said by 2050, you have articles that saying that the USD will not be number one currency no more. So when you have your top 1% of the world looking at that type of research, so you have people that get paid good money to find out these numbers. They get paid some serious money to do numbers, to run these statistics. So by 2050, the USD will not be the world leading currency no more. And they said they're predicting that the leading currency will be yen, which is the Chinese currency. What does that tell you? What the laws that's being created right now is going to be for the next by 2050. Mm-hmm. Laws are always put in for 20 decades.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Laws are put in for decades, and then you see the effect decades later.
Right.
which is
like what's going on now.
Which is going on later. Like we said with Nixon,
in
72
laws. This conversation I know me and Courtney used to have a lot was that the Chinese yuan, like, so guys think about it. The Chinese have come from a long legacy of dynasties. So they're building this over time. Think about it, like the way that I'm not gonna go into the way Chinese do the work because I can go really into that. But like we start thinking about the Chinese, man, like they've been setting themselves up for years. When they devalued their yuan to bring more like people to outsource, like back over like in the early 2000s and stuff like that, when all the companies started leaving the U.S., like they did that on purpose, guys. So we gotta start thinking about this. They're smart. They're not. I mean, we're thinking super micro, and they're thinking macro.
They think 100 years.
Yeah, they're thinking dynasty. They're thinking about, and that's the way you gotta think. That's why I'm about to go into this. You gotta start thinking for your damn kids. You know what I'm saying? You gotta start thinking for your kids' because if you're not on that mindset, then your kids' are gonna be maybe in the same position or even worse than you. Right? My parents, they thought, all right, let me get to a country that's gonna give my kids a better life. I'm living a way better life than whatever any cousin that lives in El Salvador right now, right? Thank the Lord. But why? Because my parents wanted better for their kids. So you guys gotta start thinking about for your kids. You gotta start thinking about what can I do? How can I teach my kids how to balance, not even balance the checkbook, but how to manage your money? How can I start teaching my kids, all right, save 10% of your money to go invest into other assets, or maybe, 30% of your check. You gotta start teaching your kids this. You or your cousins, your nieces, nephews, whoever is. I don't care if they're 5. My dad started teaching me this stuff when one of the first things my dad used to be like, oh look, that's money. They all add up to like money on the floor. They all add up to be more money. So every relative's house I would go to, I would find quarters. Hey, can I keep these? Can I keep these? But why? And then my dad would like, all right, okay, this is how you count the quarters. You put them in the little row, and then this means this. Okay, look, now you got a bank account. Look at your bank account. You're statement from this to this. You gotta do that because nobody's gonna do it for them. And if you don't know, go to YouTube and be like, how do I teach my kids from that? Do something because there's so much information. There's no excuses. And then back to it. So you guys are kind of like, guys. So you're talking about always becoming better wealth mindset. you know what you can do today? Today's Sunday. Most people usually BS their Sunday away, complain that they got to go to work tomorrow, or maybe you're still laid off or whatever. You're not going to work or however it is. Plan your week out. This is what I'm gonna do Monday. You know what I'm saying? This is what I'm gonna do Tuesday, and then but these are my goals for the week. If you don't get something done on Monday or Tuesday, push it to Wednesday. You know what I'm saying? And then make sure by the end of the week that all your goals are taken care of. If they're not, if you only take care of 2 or 4 or 5, like 2 out of 5, then you're up. Because you weren't going to do them any goddamn ways anyways, right? So you guys seriously have to start preparing. How does any company that has ever existed in this world prosper? They lay down a blueprint. We're going to do it like this. We're going to start here. We're going to do this for a little bit. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. All right, and then we're going to take it to the next level. You know what I'm saying? Amazon. What are they? They were selling books, and then it went from selling books to
everything.
Selling everything. It was a blueprint to sell books. That blueprint to sell books. They implemented that blueprint to sell books to sell anything else out there. They wanted to.
It sounds like what a lot of us do is we wake up without a plan.
Yep.
A lot of
absolutely. That a lot of go through your whole life without a plan.
Majority of us don't know our purpose.
Absolutely.
And when you don't know our purpose, that's when it makes it easier for somebody to control you. Right. It makes it easier for me to say, if somebody wakes up every day not knowing where plan B is,
they have no direction.
They have no direction. Therefore, it's easier for somebody to say, "Nah, you're not going that way. You couldn't go that way." And you just moving. Right. You should go this way now.
Right. And I'm just directing you.
You know what I'm saying? Because why? You don't know where planning.
What is that called? A puppet.
A puppet. Exactly.
I'll give you another sports analogy. How can you shoot if you're playing basketball? How can you make points if you don't know your goal?
If you don't know the goal,
you could be shooting another goal. And make points for the other team. And that's really what most people do. And they're making points for the other team.
Are you running into the end zone, or are you shooting the basket? Shooting the goal? Like, what are you doing?
You don't even know.
And one thing I like, and I'm noticing is that, that we was talking about how the Chinese, what they study, and it's planning, and they look at it such from a macro field. And I feel like we have to think about our grandkids. Your decisions that you make need to be, how is this going to affect my grandchildren? I know that I don't have kids, and I think like that. Like, will my grandkids be good over in America, or should I start looking at somewhere else to start building my legacy to have my grandkids? You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking like long term, because then even if I don't live to see my dream, I have planted a seed and it started. So now the next person is supposed to take the baton and pass it on. But at least in our community, the Black, a lot of people never gave us a dream. I know in my life it's like I'm starting to dream.
Think realistic.
Yeah. What? And from DC, you're really taught in the DC lifestyle. Go to school, come back and work for the government.
Work for the government. Yeah. That's it.
I have never had nobody in my family say own real estate. I don't know nobody who own real estate in my family other than like my parents were the first ones to buy a house, and I was 8 when I seen that. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? That was my dad's first. So it's like, that's a part of that generational gap that we're talking about. But we have to, now that I know better, my grandkids will have some houses. Will have some land to live. You know what I'm saying? I promise you that. That my grandkids will have land.
And let's bring that all back to full circle. Even though, like I said, we had some passions here we want to talk about. But we talk about real estate. I want to be in real estate. I want to be in real estate because they look at it as quick money. Or I can flip some houses and make some money real quick. I can do this and make some money real quick. I'm trying to tell you, we've been doing this for a while. Me and Corey started this a minute ago, and we've seen so many people come and go. What we're talking about here is a mindset. If you understand it, you develop it, you're going to create wealth. There's no mystery about it. If you understand it, you're going to create wealth in real estate or whatever else you want to do. We've seen so many people come and go. I want to be in real estate. I want to do this. I want to do that. When they see what they need to do, when they see that I'm just going to flip a couple houses and be rich tomorrow. When they start seeing that, they go away. They fade, right? Because like these two gentlemen are saying, it's a long-term thing, right? You may learn this now, and your kids take advantage of it. You may not take advantage of it at all, right? But because we have such an indoctrinating mentality to say, I need to be rich right away, we never get it. Everybody's, we're seeing some people come and go, even on this, what we're talking about now. Again, they don't get it. You don't get it because, again, you're indoctrinated in certain thinking. I need to make money right now. We're talking about 10, 20, 30 years. We're talking about 4 guys here. We're talking about a community later, just in Houston, worldwide. We're not thinking small terms. So people are gonna come and go. We know this thing what we're doing is gonna be successful. We just gotta keep doing it, keep being persistent. And we're going to see a lot of people come and go. We see people tear up crap. And then what happened? Just like some of the other things. They talk Watts and all that. They tore up crap then. And then what happened?
Right.
We hear 20 years later, same damn thing. You still tearing up shit.
Right.
Excuse my language, right? When are you going to change that? The tearing up shit, you got to do something better than just tear up something.
Once you tear it up, that's alert.
That's exactly.
So every time they change, you do have to alert.
The alert has been made.
Now the alert has been made.
Now what you going to do?
Now we have to come together as a community and do better. But I do think it all starts with knowledge. The more we educate ourselves, the more we change in here, it's just going to work through us. Because it just has to. That's just how physics and karma. That's just how it works. When I know better, you do better. It's just when you know better, you do better. That's just a fact.
Let's leave it there.
Let's
You
leave
know
it there.
better, you do better.
What they said before, and I'm gonna refer this just in general. And you know, again, we're not racist. We want to work with everybody, but we have to talk about where we are, right? Mm-hmm. The white man's worst enemy is a man with knowledge. I don't care what color you are. Any man with knowledge is their worst freaking enemy. This is why they want to keep you dumb. This is why they want to. You talk about you going to college, you're educated. You're not educated. You educated how they want you to be, so you go get their job,
Right.
but you're not educated. You're not educated. You don't even know who created the damn light bulb, really. You know Thomas Edison, niggas. That's what they told you, right? So you're not educated, right? So again, like Courtney said, it's about education, real education.
This is financial intelligence, y'all. I know we didn't really talk about real estate, but the first half of this FIRE stands for financial intelligence and real estate. And I think what's going on right now in society, we really need to really talk about education, you know, and we are providing a form of education, but it's bigger than that. Again, looking at the micro scheme of things, we have to become educated as a community, as people. No, as everybody, if you're in that poor category, no matter what race, you need to be educated.
That's right.
And I promise you that will frighten them more than anything else in the world.
And before we lose everybody, this is our gear. I don't know if y'all can see mine. Let's talk real estate. You know, with all these conversations up, you know, Courtney's gonna give you a little profile, give it back up. A little merch we're selling, you can buy it on Facebook. Reach out to us. You know, we may be doing some giveaways with it. But, you know, again, this is part of, you can be in the grocery store and somebody say, oh, you know about real estate? Again, not only that you can have opportunity to make some money, you have opportunity to educate somebody.
Let's talk real estate, y'all.
Let's talk real estate. We'll see you guys next week.
Appreciate it.
Good talking with y'all.
Next week. Don't worry about it.
We'll talk about it next week. I promise y'all.